Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Tax in 10 with me, Rachel de Souza, and Andrew Robbins. We are both tax partners in RSM's London office and have a wealth of experience in dealing with a wide variety of private client matters. Your feedback is valuable to us, so do keep it coming, especially if you have thoughts on any topics you would like us to cover. You can contact us by email and our addresses are at the bottom of your screen. Now, we're recording this episode just after the Queen's Jubilee celebrations. So, Andrew, I hope you had the flags and the bunting out and you bought your Jubilee mug.
Well, as you know, I'm not exactly the greatest fan of royalty in general, so I'm afraid I didn't actually go and join the crowds outside Buckingham Palace. But to celebrate the Jubilee, I have been thinking about how the Queen has been acting when it comes to passing on royal authority and how that compares to what I see other families doing.
Okay, I'm not quite sure where you're going here, so tell me more.
Well, on the one hand, it seems pretty clear that the Queen has absolutely no intention of abdicating, and Prince Charles will have to grab the crown out of her cold, dead hand before he gets to be king himself. On the other hand, the royal family seems to have been very good at taking the weight off her shoulders. So I'm thinking here about, for example, the recent state opening of Parliament, where Charles sat in for the Queen, or the Jubilee concert, where the Queen stayed in Windsor and watched Netflix rather than listening to Brian May and Andrew Lloyd Webber. So it does feel like the Queen has reached a happy medium where she attends horse shows, Chelsea Flower Show and the like, while somebody else has to do all the daily grind of being a monarch.
Oh, I see. So you're comparing the royal family to the succession issues that many of our family-owned businesses face. Usually, of course, in that case, with the patriarch clinging on to power for dear life.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just family businesses, but it's family wealth more generally. As you know, one of the problems we often see is that the older generation keeps total control, which means in due course, when the children do inherit, they have no clue or experience at all of actually how to manage the wealth they've suddenly taken over. And seriously, I do think here the Queen is actually a good role model, because not just her children, but even her grandchildren have been introduced to the family business. So when she is now stepping back, they're not being expected to take it all over with no experience at all. They've kind of been eased into it. And in our world, I think that often means getting your children to sit in on conversations with professional advisors from a young age and just talking to them about the wealth you've got and how you plan to use it. Because I think your family will do a much better job of protecting their wealth if they get the chance to see you in action before they actually have to take control and responsibility.
Yeah, and that's all very well, but you know that in reality, a lot of clients don't really trust their children when it comes to money. Often they're afraid to tell their family how wealthy they are because they then worry it could influence the children's behaviour, kind of like and send them off the rails.
Yeah.
So for some families, being open and inclusive, as you suggest, is great, but not everybody will be comfortable with this.
I think that's spot on, but that's where structuring can help. And I don't want to talk today about the details of family investment companies, but FICs or trusts really can be a great way to bridge that gap. You can use them to allow family members to get some management responsibility while you retain ultimate decision-making control. So your family can have that kind of practice of running the money under your supervision without having to worry about them actually getting their hands on it and blowing it all on a new Ferrari. So those sorts of decisions, to my mind, they're not really tax driven, even though they do obviously have tax implications. And again, this is where structures like companies and trusts can help. Families do need to consider any structural changes to be long term, as they are designed to assist the transition of wealth from one generation to the next, it's still important to understand the implications of holding wealth through a structure and to recognise that those tax implications may need to change over time. So you do need your ongoing sort of regular reviews to make sure that things are appropriate for the family needs. But grasping that nettle and actually taking some action and making some changes while your wits are still about you, I think is a much more responsible way of acting for your family than just hoping it all goes away.
Yes, absolutely. And we've been talking about the Queen being a bit of a role model here, which I absolutely agree she is. But there is one area where I think I wouldn't want to follow her approach, and I would counsel our families, you know, to think a bit deeper. In most families, waiting until you are 96 years old before allowing your son to take a major role in the business is probably just a little bit extreme. I think we could do with some generational planning just a little bit earlier on.
I'm not going to argue with that one.
So we've had a lovely weekend. We've all, you know, enjoyed our bank holiday. Did you find something over the bank holiday that we could share with, that you could share with the rest of us for a recommendation?
I did, and I thought, keeping in the holiday spirit, we'd do something a bit sort of light-hearted.
Mm-hmm.
So
sounds good.
I'm going to recommend a podcast called Why This Universe. Mm-hmm. Which is, it's a PhD student and a professor of astrophysics talking about fundamental terms of physics and astronomy. So if you want to learn about how we spot exoplanets.
That's what I was about to sneeze.
I'm making you allergic. I haven't even finished.
Sorry. Yes, go on.
If I want to learn about exoplanets or how you measure the distance to other galaxies, Why This Universe, it's really, really interesting. Okay,
and you said that was light-hearted.
Well, it is. It's all about fundamental physics.
Oh, I give up. On that note, thank you everyone for listening. As usual, please let us have your comments and feedbacks, and remember you can contact us at rachel.d'Souza@rsmuk.com or andrew.robbins@rsmuk.com. Until next time.
Bye.